I'm with Kelly,
specialist in feeding therapy and feeding disorders.
Okay, and can you give us some tips for parents who has kids with feeding disorders?
Yes, I would say feeding disorders are very delicate. They can become very, very dangerous. So if you have a child that you see starts to be like a picky eater or only wants the same food again and again, the moment that you see that, please change it. Like, give them different things all the time. Don't let them get into a routine, because the more narrow that their diet becomes, the more rigid that they become. Okay. And then it's more difficult to help them.
Okay. So you have to hurry up and change things just in the beginning.
Yes.
And how we can do that?
Okay, so I think one of the most important things for parents to understand is that the majority of feeding disorders are not biological. The majority of the time, there's nothing biologically wrong with the child. There's no biological problem in the throat or the esophagus that would cause discomfort for them to eat. It's really just learned behavior. So for most parents, they're very careful and they're very scared because they think that their child is in pain or they're suffering and they don't want the food to make it worse. So it's important for parents to understand that I would say 98% of the time, it's not anything that is hurting or anything that they're sick. It's just behavior. So the sooner the parents realize that and understand that, the sooner that they can start applying things to change the diet, get them used to trying new different things every day. And then they'll understand, it's okay if he cries. It's a learned behavior. It's not that they're in pain.
With little steps, right? Or
yes,
big?
Always little stuff. And I would say, when you serve their plate, always change the plates. Don't always give them food in the same plate. Don't always use the same spoon or the same cup. And when you put their food, a lot of parents like to separate foods. That's okay. I get it. We're all trying to help our babies. But if we're going to separate, you can separate in the plate, but still put a little bit of everything in that plate so they can get used to seeing different colors, different textures, everything in the same plate.
Yes, but they have sensory issues, right?
Yes.
And maybe it can make it feel sick.
Yes and no. So sensory issues are really just when it comes to touching, if they have texture or sensories, they don't want to touch because it looks gross, and that's okay. That's normal. That's not a big deal. But when we're eating, we don't always touch our food with our hands. We're eating from a plate. So even if they have sensory issues, when they engage in the gagging, like they're going to vomit or they actually do vomit, again, that is just a learned behavior that the child has developed, because they know the moment that they vomit, the parents are going to be like, oh my God, what's wrong? They're going to take away the food and they're not going to have to eat it.
Okay, it's only behavior.
Yes. So to me, because aside from feeding therapy, I also do ABA. So for me, sensory issues, I think it's very cruel to have a child touch food or something that they have sensory issues with. But to have them tolerate it in their plate, it's okay. One of the most difficult things about feeding therapy is that most people think that feeding therapy is ABA. Feeding therapy is not ABA, and ABA is not feeding therapy. You can apply some principles from ABA into a feeding therapy, but feeding therapy is feeding therapy. It is not ABA. So you can use some principles of ABA, like for example, you can use the first then principle. Like first, I want you to take a bite of, let's say, the yogurt, and then you can have your iPad, or you can have cookies, or you can have, whatever it is that they like. But the idea is to get them to first do the thing that they don't want to do, and then they get reinforced or they get rewarded with something that they do want. But one of the most important things for me to convey to parents is that I want them to understand that ABA and feeding therapy are not the same thing. So my philosophy is once it goes inside the mouth, it needs to be swallowed.
Okay.
There's no putting it and then spitting out. That that's just adding an extra learned behavior that then you're going to have to work to decrease. You know, the moment that you teach a child to put it in their mouth and then spit it out, when you start doing feeding therapy,
But just
that's
put
something
the
that you
tongue.
have to start removing.
Just put the tongue is not right.
You know, like if they lick it, but then they can say no, and that's it. So how are they going to eat it? The idea with feeding therapy is to teach children that no is not an option. You know, this is food, it's what's available, and you're going to eat it. And if you don't eat it, we're not going to eat anything else until you eat this. And that's one of the most difficult concepts for parents to understand.
Yes.
But that's why intensive feeding therapy works, because once we work on this, they get used to eating anything and everything. You know, when I do my feeding therapy, I introduce 4 food groups all at the same time. I don't work on one thing first and then another and then another. No, I do vegetables, proteins, carbohydrates, and fruits all at the same time. So the idea is to desensitize them.
Once
so they
a day?
Sometimes it's once a day. If it's very, very intensive, then sometimes we'll do 3 times a day. But that's more for children that are on feeding tubes.
Okay. And every day you put these 4 things, different things, every day?
Yes.
Or the same
Every
thing
day.
a week? Every day a different thing?
Every day is something
Monday,
different. So every day is
apple, Tuesday, orange, this way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, every day is something different. So Monday, let's say that Monday we have chicken, rice, broccoli, and papaya.
Nice.
That was Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to have beef, potatoes, corn, and pineapple. But every day it will be something different.
Okay, and when they start to try? Because you said first we have to put in the plate. And when they start to try?
So when they actually try the food, and you see that, you know, they're moving it around and they're chewing, you have to throw a party. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Great job. I love how you're eating. You're eating like a big boy or like a big girl.
Nice.
You know, reinforce it and let them know that you're so happy that they're eating, you know, but it has to be like, your tone of voice has to change. You have to understand that this is a big deal.
Okay.
And that in itself tends to make kids very excited.
But you make them try the first time, or the first time we will try to put in the plate only, just to see?
I think that for parents, they should probably start with putting it in the plate and let them get used to seeing it in their plate, and then
How long?
introduce the eating. I would say a couple of times, like have the same thing in the plate so they get used to it looking similar, like 2 or 3 times, and then after that, okay, now we're gonna eat it.
Okay.
And then just have them try it.
And you are coming to Brazil in January 19?
In February.
February, right?
February, yes. Actually, I'm going at the end of January, the last week, because my intent is to go for a full 45 days so we can do like intensive feeding therapy for a full 45 days.
Okay, and do you want to say something to the families?
Just to not lose faith. You know, it's very hard. I know, like I mentioned here before, this is something that I personally went to as well. Don't lose faith. You just have to be strong and you have to be consistent every day, and just never give up. And you'll see the results.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kelly. Bye-bye. Kisses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.